Hi guys, and welcome back to a Dee And A Don. I'm Dave. I'm the Don,
And I'm Pat, and I'm the D.
wearing our paraphernalia today.
Absolutely, and I've got a bobblehead as well in in
And you got a
Kasaya
couple?
Pickett.
Is Maxi around
I
here
do.
somewhere?
Maxie's around. Maxie's
Right.
on the actual pool table,
Okay.
and I do want to ask Pickett a question.
No,
Pickett, will you actually be at Melbourne next year?
that's the rumor, isn't it? It's this time of
Well,
year they always bring out the going home.
yeah, that's right.
Posy for Jackson is
Yeah,
the current
no,
rumor.
exactly,
How would you feel
exactly.
about that?
Well, the bobblehead's telling me that Kasaya is going to
All
be.
right, enough with the bobblehead.
Okay, off the bobblehead, but yeah, very interesting games over the last couple of weeks too, Dave.
Been an emotional roller coaster back.
It has.
We scrounged a win against the Swans, who are well below their best. I went to that game, and then I went again last night.
Yeah.
So in the week after we beat Sydney, when frankly, what they have 17 inside 50s in the last quarter, my son and I were like, oh my, oh, not again, not again.
Yeah.
And so we scrounge out a win, and then you've got Kane Corn saying, oh, they're winning, not just playing finals, but winning a final
Oh,
next week.
that's a big call.
Reid and Caddy are everything from Silvani to Dunstall.
Yeah.
And
Wright as well. Peter Wright's starting to, take the clunky marks
listen,
at the 50.
I don't know what it is about the media where they just love building us up.
They
And look, when you've been through it all before, you just go, well, are we much worse off this week than we were? No, we're pretty much exactly where we were.
Yeah.
We scrape wins against West Coast and North and Sydney, who are well below what they would usually be. And I think they'll come back when they've got Goulden and Papel. I mean,
Yeah.
they've got three Van Ruins. You know how I hassle you for like pouring 4 years into this seed that's
Okay,
still
yeah,
waiting to
still
become a
waiting.
beautiful tree.
Yeah.
Well, they've got three of them,
Yeah.
right? I forget all their names. Amadi and the Mac and
Yeah.
yeah.
McInerney.
No, McInerney plays in the back. The big guy plays like looks like Tarzan. So it's a giant, that one. I don't want to insult anyone, but like without Papley, they've got no forward. Like Hayward was holding them together, but they should have beaten us. And then I spent a week just listening to all how good they're
Yeah.
Essendon. And then
Well, that was a high.
no. And then I turned up last
The
night.
roller coaster.
I can't remember. I don't really want to, rehash it in great detail, but I think they kicked the first 8 goals.
Yeah.
And you get to quarter time, and you're like, this is over.
Yeah.
And if you hadn't gone with a Bulldogs fan, your son's like, can we go? And you're like, oh, look, just hold it out. So we left halfway through the last quarter. It wasn't really going anywhere, but to me, it was all captured in a moment just before we left where Archie Cooper goes up to tackle Riley West, who, by the way, in the absence of Waitman, has just gone,
Oh, another level,
hold,
hasn't
hold
he?
my beer.
Yeah.
You think you're the number one small forward in this game,
Hello.
in this team? Well,
Yeah.
here we go. So he got tackled by Archie Cooper, who's a good young player. He's got 2 pre-seasons in him as opposed to about 10. And West just literally bench pressed him into the ground. That was pretty much how it was all day. Like
Yeah.
they were faster, bigger, better, and they
Yeah.
had
So,
one of the best midfields you'll ever see.
so you're at Marvel. So you managed to get that bird's eye view of what was actually going on. I was watching on the
Wasn't
TV,
pretty.
and I tell you, the things that really stood out for me is the pressure. I just didn't see the pressure from the Bombers at all, and they were well below their best. They were always trailing. And what I also noticed as well is the Bulldogs' their ability to link up with their handballs, really attacking handballs. It was like 1, 2, 3, and they were getting into position. Then they were, sizzling that 30-metre kick out in front, and they just seem to make the right decisions. They just seem to be connecting really well. And I'm making a call on the Bulldogs that they really are a premiership threat.
Look, can't argue
Calling
with
it.
Yeah, I mean, look, throw Darcy. Waitman apparently is not coming back this season.
No.
But once they get Darcy back,
Yeah.
I mean, the question mark on them, and you've got different levels of question marks. Yeah, I mean, they're where we want to be. I'm watching them, and I'm like, that's us in hopefully 5 years.
Yeah.
Just the bodies and all that. But
got
there's
depth.
also, but there's also the other two things. There's the mental maturity.
Yeah.
and there's the system. Because I'm not sure we're playing the right system. All of this, everyone was lauding it against Sydney, but I think Scott's protecting a pretty weak back line by just having this, well, let's kick it out to the right, and now let's bring it back, and let's kick it to the left. And McGrath and those guys get, 40 possessions each, and you go, oh, superstars, but actually, like,
what are they doing?
I'd rather, the Bulldogs where you go, all right, we've got it. You break out there, we'll hit you with the 40-metre pass on the chest, the hand pass to the guy running past. That's how you want to play footy. So whether or not we develop that once our cattle, are fresh. But the other thing is the mental maturity. If you're a 19-year-old kid like Kako or a guy who's played 17 games like Reed, and people are calling you, a cross between, oh, well, I'm not saying he's Buddy Franklin, but he moves like Buddy. I mean, come on. So if you're listening to that all week, and there's, there's like about 5 or 6 guys who've played less than, 20 games. If you're Al Hawley and, and
I'll be honest, I was on the Kako wagon last time, to be honest. I was on the Kako train.
You dropped off?
I don't say dropped off, but I tell you what, his output was pretty mean.
When you're bombing it onto the heads of people like Kako and, our other small forwards or Merritt, and he's up against at one point, Lob just takes a mark over a guy who's like 30 centimetres smaller than him, and you're just like, how did you think that was going to work?
Absolutely. But I tell you what, I thought also the Bulldogs, their ability to actually play Marvel Stadium. So I think that, when you're playing Marvel Stadium, you have to have your crummers really close to where the marks are going to be, because the ball actually sits up. And it doesn't sort of flow on a bit like if you're at the MCG. So you can have your crummers further out. So if the ball spoils, it sort of moves out and they make a lot more space. But when it comes to the Marvel, you have a look at the Bulldogs. They're really right underneath the actual marking forwards. So when they bring the ball down, they're the first ones down and actually, dishing it off.
Yeah.
Right? But they play it so well.
The only question mark I have on the Bulldogs is Norton as their only tall forward. So can you hold...
Baku Karmas kicked 3 goals.
Looked like a superstar. Mind you, he wasn't on Reed. Well, so Mackay was on Norton. Maybe he was on Reed. Because everyone was talking about how Reed was doing all right. But yeah, you're right. Buku was pretty good. Whether or not I'm walking into a grand final or prelim going Buku and Norton are going to, cause some huge problems. I'm not sure. But like you say, Riley West is, in that top 10 small forward conversation now.
They've got a lot of these small players, a bit like, the Waitmans now. You've got Liberatore on fire. Obviously, you've got the Bond. But, you've got other players now that are actually coming through. That, Riley Sanders, as I said, Scott West, he's reached another level.
Not Scott, Riley. But
okay. But I guess the other thing as well, and is that I know it's not great when someone like Darcy injures himself, but really, since he's injured himself, all of a sudden, they just seem to have a lot more connection. And, even Norton's really playing well. He's taking a role. And, so it's really pretty exciting for them.
Yeah, I guess so. My thing with Darcy was that he would look amazing for a half and then he'd sort of die out and they'd die out with him because I think it's very Darcy focused.
Yeah, true.
So you're right, it probably spreads the load a little bit.
It's a load.
But how nice to have the depth to go, what do we do with Rory Lobb? Let's just throw him down back and he'll be one of the best centre-half backs in the comp.
He's doing very well. And, it sounds like it's been a bit of a roller coaster over the last couple of weeks. I'm sorry I had to leave a bit early last night. Want to talk about the D's. Obviously, they're playing right now, but I'm not expecting them to win, I'll be honest, right, against Brisbane. In Brisbane, yep. So, but what did I see, against the Hawks? Well, we were in it, right? We were in it to our ears, but once again, poor kicking let us down. The third quarter, we had to seize the opportunity. We kicked 2-5, and we had so much of the ball over Hawthorn.
So you just think if you had to kick those, because you missed those goals, everyone just went, oh, this is a bit hard?
I think that really does sort of play on the players. I really do. And
are you a mentally kind of fragile team? Like if they're going through, it's up and about and everybody high-fiving and they're at build?
I feel it. And I also feel, unfortunately, I mean, Gawn is an unbelievable player. We all know that. But, the last quarter, he was, 35 metres out. And again, he missed a goal. He really should have kicked. And I think that really hurt us. And then after that, guess what? Hawthorn kicked the next 6 goals and just ran away with it, right? You've got to take your opportunities. I still don't think the connection in the forward line's good enough. I think we really need to be spreading out and we need to be offering leads everywhere over the forward line, right? We're not just everyone go into the flank, everyone go forward. And that's where the great teams, win games, is because they are unpredictable in the forward line.
Okay, so I'm hearing a couple of things. I'm hearing that you still think you're a great team, or that you could be. And I just feel like it's about time for a newsflash where you're actually fourth bottom on the ladder. And we are, about 3 positions above you. And I'm talking about how far we are away from the good teams. And you're saying a couple of things go our way and we're beating Hawthorn. What I need you to do is make them... I understand. When we still had Lloydie and all those guys, I was like, next premiership, we can still do this. No. Let me talk to you 20 years later and say, need to get your head around that.
No, you're right. Okay, stop, Pat. Stop. You're right.
So I think the next 6 weeks, because it's not going to be, I'm listening to you and I hear Hawthorn, Brisbane, you're still seeing some hope because these are teams that are like miles ahead, but we could have got them or,
Okay,
It's going to be Sydney at the MCG. When you lose those sorts of games next week, I think it is, where you go, all right.
Fair enough, Dave.
Talk to me, Dave.
Fair enough. Talk to me, Dave. Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
Let's change tack now. I'd like to talk to you about what's working in the with the game at the moment, because there's been a lot of changes in the rules, and the game's a lot faster, and what do you think's actually working that the umpires or the AFL have done right that you think it's working?
Well, I'm actually a huge fan of the Thursday night footy. Just last year when they decided, we'll do that to round 12, and we all went, hang on. Now my Fridays seem really long. I haven't got any footy to talk about. And it kind of feels like it's the weekend on Friday to me after I've watched a good match. And also the option to maybe go to the pub and watch it with some mates.
Nice.
So it kind of encourages me to, I don't know, at the very least, do something on a Thursday night.
Much better than Monday. Remember they did the Monday nights? And that just didn't work. I think everyone just went, oh, God, I've done the Sunday. I've told my wife that, footy's over the weekend, but then you go to the Monday and it's
that was kind of a COVID thing where they were like, why don't you forget about all that depressing stuff and just watch footy all the time? Something that's come up this week, and I don't want to be, chatting about what everyone else chats about, but... Shorter quarters, because our mate Luke was a huge fan during COVID when they shortened the quarters, and I think it helped him with his drinking, to be honest. Because instead of, 2.5 hours, 3 hours of let's just sit down and do some hardcore drinking, it was kind of like 2 hours and the game finishes and you still kind of remember what's happened in the last quarter.
Let's do some drinking and then wait for the next match. And at the same time,
that too. But it got me thinking because... it was kind of nice. It was quicker, but it was also like you weren't going to the game. Like now you're going to the game. Like, do I really want to be home within 2.5 hours of the game starting? I don't know. That's maybe more a comment.
Maybe not.
Love the family. Happy to be there. What do you think? Do you want quarters, or are you happy with the length? It's always been.
I'm happy with the length. I love football.
I know.
Right? So, the more football I watch, the better, to be honest.
All right, let's agree, keep the Thursday nights. Because, by the way, coming up, Geelong Bulldogs down at GMHBA.
Well, it's going to be a cracker.
Tucking myself under the door in that one.
No.
Very nice.
Absolutely. Okay, so for me.
How about you?
Yeah. I think what I think's worked, really, I think the umpires are getting the holding the ball a lot better now. The decision a lot better.
You'd be out on your own on that one.
Yeah.
Holding the ball?
Yeah.
So what, pay it fast?
Well, they're paying them well. Like last year, I thought there were a lot of, where the players were sort of, jumping on it, then they weren't paying it. But I think now I think now we've got it right. I think if you're jumping on the ball, then you have to get rid of it. You've made the decision to jump on it. If you don't jump on the ball,
I
then
think
try and
everyone
tap it
knows about
off.
that one. That
Yeah,
one was fairly consistent last year as well. You
yeah,
drag it in or you jump on top of
yeah,
it.
yeah,
You got
yeah.
to get it out.
But I'm actually just enjoying it. It's made the game, I guess, sort of move on nicely, and I think that's working. I also reckon the whole deliberate out of the bounce as well. I'm really warming to that. Even you see the crowds, right? They pretty much know they get into it. It's like yeah. When the ball goes out, they know it's getting paid,
Ugh.
and the umpire just loves it. It
It's
gives it,
almost got to last touch here. Like
yeah,
I
true, true,
saw
true.
a game last night,
Yeah,
and it was a forward,
yeah,
and they had to kick 2 goals in 2 minutes, and they chipped it ahead so that they
yeah,
could run onto it, and it trickled over the line,
yeah,
stopping them from like picking it up and running with it,
yeah,
and they paid that deliberate,
yeah.
and you're like, do you have any understanding of the game? Like, there's no
No,
way that guy wanted
no,
that ball to go
no,
out.
no.
So
It's going to get pretty. It's going to get pretty complex though if you do last touch out because you imagine there's
that
going to be all these
doesn't get any
hands
simpler
out.
than that.
No.
Oh, you're talking about
Yeah.
do we go up to the arc and see who touched it
Yeah,
last?
that's
Are
right.
you a
It's going to
fan
get
of the
so.
arc? Do you want the umpires going, oh, hang on, we got that wrong? Because the Carlton game had one where it came off the guy's foot. Everyone thought it went straight out. When you looked at the replay, it bounced
Yeah.
and went out.
I'm a fan of the arc to a point. I think, and I actually heard Brownie actually talk about this, and I agree with him. Jonathan Brown, not Jonathan Brown.
Nathan Brown?
Nathan Brown. Yeah,
Yep.
he basically said if the umpire cannot see it, then just don't make that decision because there was an umpire behind, right? It's better to actually not make a decision than to actually
What,
call it.
in that case, just throw it in?
Throw it in, absolutely. Because you have to be crystal clear, right? Do you really want to go the arc on those type of things? That said, you saw the Pickett incident where he blatantly got tripped, right? Kasai Pickett blatantly. Now, that was a bunker decision, if you ask me.
So you do want the arc?
I want the arc.
When
We'll see how this
Right.
goes. But no, I just think we've got to be careful with how we do the. We don't want to be continually stop starting the game all the time, right? But
This, taking 30 seconds to work out whether or
Yeah.
not it's a point or it was out of bounds on the foot. Like,
well, rugby league do it, and they seem to kind of
for
like
them,
it
it's for a
as well.
try. For us, sometimes it's just for nothing.
That was a goal from Pickett, right? So they could have taken that back, and that could have changed it because we were 2-9 at the time. We could not even kick a goal.
This is the
So
Hawthorn game.
yeah, it's a Hawthorn game. The only time we're going to kick a goal was if it was in the goal square.
Yeah.
That happened, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. So, which kind of takes me to the point of what's not working for you when it comes to AFL.
For me, one thing that I'd just really like them to do, because, we're all about the list build, because
Yeah.
that's really all we've got. And for a list build to go right, you need everything to go right. We were lucky last year. We got Kako. They changed the rules on the academies. I don't know what the rules were before. I don't know what they are now. We get Kako. Great.
Yeah.
We've got 2 more academy guys. I don't know if that's because they've changed that.
Yeah.
But the other thing that you need to go well, and for some clubs they've made it an art form, is the father-sons. Right.
Yeah.
Now,
They have made it a
look,
form.
conflict of interest. I don't know Levi Ashcroft real well. I taught him. I teach at Brighton Road, and I taught him in year 10. Nice kid. Don't know him, very well, but very nice kid. But in terms of as a footballer, apart from Joel Selwood and probably Judd,
Yeah.
has there ever been a guy who you've watched in his first 5 games and just gone, all right, this guy belongs at the level? Or just, he's running around to guys who played 100 games going, oh, look, I'm running past on the side here, or keep your head up and all that stuff. And you're just like, oh, God, wouldn't you love him, right? So a bid didn't come on him till pick 5, when most people said he was the best player in the draft. So why don't they make bids earlier? Because I think Will got through to 3 as well, when he was clearly the best player in that draft. And I think at the moment, they're making the decision between the relationships, because these guys, they do deals all the time. And if you're going to, play hardball on this, then we're going to play hardball on that. And I remember we put in a bid on Silvani's son, like as a joke in the 40s. Oh, ha, 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 Carlton, you better make a move there. And they did. In the whole history of the father-son, the only one I can remember them not matching a bid was Dunkley.
Right.
When Bulldogs tried to grab him, And the Swans
happened?
went, it was like pick 40 or something. And the Swans went, no, we're not giving up that for him. By the way, when Brisbane offered it, when Bulldogs offered him to us, it was 2 first-round picks, right?
Different, isn't it?
So you say, all right, well, why don't they ever say no? And in hindsight, you'd say that was a really bad decision. And I actually think there's only one reason. Are we still on? I actually think there's only. Do you have to log in? I actually think there's only one reason that they did that, and that's because Dunkley's dad was such a bad kick that they went, well, no, he's probably. I don't know whether they checked it out because Dunkley was the reason. When you and I were kids, the fullback grabbed the ball and he kicked it in. And then Dunkley came along and the Swans went, no, we'll have to have somebody else, right? Yeah. And his son is quite a good kick and a very good midfielder, and he's the only one.
Yeah.
So why aren't they making Brisbane pay top dollar? Well, it's because Brisbane, if you bid on him number 1 instead of number 5, what's that, another pick 43 and 56? No. Here's my big idea, Paddy.
Okay, I want to hear it.
Only first and second rounds for father-sons.
Right.
You want a father-son? Pony up a first round. And if you can't do it in this draft, you've got to do it in the next draft.
Yeah.
And if that's not enough points, you need a second round pick as well.
Yeah.
So only first and seconds, but so that we don't have them all loading up on second round picks. Because, you know when Gold Coast have got one coming up, because they suddenly start trading, their mid-range players for picks 43, 44, 45, and they go in with all their picks in the 40s and 50s and walk out with Levi Ashcroft, as Brisbane did. Yeah. That's not good enough for me.
No.
So I haven't done the maths on the points, but if they had to give up 2 first-rounders and a second, well, then you start to go, well, hang on, do we have to trade a Dunkley and see if we can get 2 first-round picks? Do we have to give up a Hipwood or a Harris Andrews? Something, because you can't
You've got to balance, don't you?
You can't have 2 Ashcrofts walk into what's about to be a premiership, a team that had played the prelim on and off for 6 or 7 years and were on the brink, and now you've just got half an elite midfield for free.
Yeah.
That's got to stop.
Yeah.
And I think that's simple to do. And the only other caveat on my rule is first and seconds.
Yeah.
But you cannot have more second round picks than first round picks.
Yeah.
So if the first and the second's not enough, you can't do another second. You got to do the first. Yeah. And that's going to make them really think, like Sydney did. Do we really want this guy?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you'll get more no's.
Yeah.
And okay, you can talk about the tradition and wouldn't it be nice? They had their chance. They just had to pay a fair price.
No, it's a fair point, Dave, and you certainly made it. And I think you've got a very strong argument there. You have to have more balance when it comes to these trades with father-sons. There's just too much advantage to the likes of Brisbane, right?
Well, you were talking about the Bulldogs before.
Yeah.
Darcy and Libba?
Yeah.
Hello?
Exactly.
That's nice.
Yeah,
for nothing.
No, for sure. So certainly take your point. Father-son, we need to do something about that and make it a fair trade. For me, I think, what could actually improve? Well, I still don't think we've got the whole, concussion laws right when it comes to suspensions. I know that there's accidents that happen in the game. We've got to be cognizant of we are not playing, a very soft game here, right? We're not playing basketball or we are playing football, right? There just needs to be, a bit more thought around some of these decisions when they, suspend.
You're talking about on field or tribunal?
Tribunal. And
talking about Curtis and Archer?
I'm talking about Curtis and Archer. I'm also even talking, like Melksham. I was really worried about Melksham when he was, and he
got off, didn't he?
He got off, and so he should have. I mean, he literally just sort of, positioned himself, and it just so happened that he's actually gone like this. And you had McGovern that went into the petty, and so it was all an accident. So it really shouldn't. And look, I'm glad that common sense actually prevailed there too. Which it should have really. I mean, it's one of those things which you just got to say, right? Let's be sensible about it. So
well, that's the problem, isn't it? The common sense. Because when it was all on Michael Christian, I think everyone was just like around the water coolers bagging the guy or whatever. Yeah. But I think he was better than what we've got now. What we've got now seems to be, if you're in trouble for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's a significant portion of the season.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're looking at a kid like Archer, right? We were talking father-sons.
Yeah.
You see him, last year before, and you go, oh, looks like his dad. Ooh, plays not quite as tall, but gee, I can see some similarities. You can see the bloodlines. But you can also say, well, I like this about him, and he does that different. And then suddenly does something round 1 or 2 of this year. And, he's done a whole pre-season, and you're like, how are you going to develop? You look bigger, you look stronger, you got another pre-season in you. And then does something where I didn't even when we were kids, that was 1 week or 2. There was sort of 1 or 2 was like, look, what did you want him to do? It's been it's all got complicated with them focusing on the outcome and all of that. But if you tackle someone and you're not trying to brutally hurt them like Curtis, it should be 1 week for, look, the guys ended up hurt, but you didn't actually, I think intent is important, right? Were you trying to hurt him? Like Scrimshaw got knocked out for 3 weeks and he tried to pretend that he wasn't trying to knock Ridley out. He concussed Ridley, knocked him out, and I was happy to see him get 3. Archer and Curtis, you're like, they didn't even really know they did anything wrong.
No, that's right. No, absolutely. And I guess just for you as well, what would you change? Like, what would you change in the game? Like, we talked about what's working, what's not working. What would you change?
Well, look, I don't want to step on your toes, but with the Essendon game plan, I think a rule change would help.
Yeah.
That kicking backwards that you're always talking about. Now, you and I differ. I reckon if you kick it back inside the 50, it should be play on. So you can't just have I'm on the wing, I'm just going to kick it back to centre half back. There should be, if there's a guy near there, that should be, well, it's still game on. You reckon all over the ground.
All over the ground.
Even inside the forward 50.
Absolutely.
So if I've got an incredible angle and I kick it to a guy who's slightly further out.
You're up by 10 points. Think about this. You got 2 minutes remaining. You're milking time. You're in the forward line. You're still kicking it back. And, because you're maybe not kicking a goal. Play on. It's
I think mine's
going to change. It'll change
a large
the
change
game.
to the fabric of the game. I think yours, it's almost a new game.
Yeah, well,
I certainly wouldn't have an inside 50. Like, I reckon if you're on a tight angle and someone's slack in the defence and you can pick out a guy who's, 25 out or 40 out directly in front, you should be able to make that kick, I think. But some of what you said, I hate it, and we did it last week, when you've got 2 minutes to go and you're 8 points up and Shield takes the mark 55 metres out and pretends that he can kick that
I agree,
to take the 30 seconds off.
And if he points, he goes, I'm going for that.
The umpire knows. In your wildest dreams, you're not kicking that.
Exactly.
And then you don't even have the shot.
No, exactly.
So you've got the 30 seconds because you said, oh no, I'm having the shot. And then you go, oh no, my bad.
No, exactly.
But we'll take the 30 seconds off the clock.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that seems an error.
It's a bit of a grey area for me. And also, I think what I change of the game, definitely for me, is, when there's a draw, I'm a big fan of a penalty shootout.
Oh, God.
I'm serious. Just, bear with me here, right? Let's say...
So horse.
Yeah. So let's just say we're talking, Dees and the Dons.
How many players from
Dees
each
and the
team?
Bombers? 5. Right? Yeah, absolutely. You start off...
From one spot straight in front?
You start in front.
Oh, this is the whole horse go?
You go further around the boundary line, right? Everyone's got 5 shots, a bit like a penalty shootout of soccer.
Everybody, arm in arm, on the side.
Mate, I reckon it would be exciting.
So how many shots for goal?
5. 5 each. 5 each.
Oh, so
So
every player gets 1 shot, but they get to nominate, I'll take it from this side because I'm the lefty and I'm going to hook it in.
No, you start in front
and
then you go to the left, then you go to the right, then you go to the left a bit, closer to the
So there are 10
line.
spots on the ground that are equal difficulty for each.
Yeah. So, and maybe you can nominate whether you go left or whether you go right as well. So
you just want to invent a whole new game.
But it would be so exciting. I mean, it would just really bring that. So, when you leave on a draw, let's be honest, Dave, it is a hard. You're like, oh God, you feel really invested.
Except for the grand final when you and I realised we had another leave past the following week. Yeah.
Let's leave that one alone.
No, but I mean, would you change it for all, or are you still going to have we've got one rule for finals where they play extra time. We've got one rule for grand final where, what is it, come back? Is it still come back the next week?
No. For
It's
me,
not?
no. For me, it's penalty shootout throughout the home and away, and also the finals, including the grand
Including the grand,
grand
oh my
final.
God.
Yeah,
Can you imagine the first time that happened?
I know.
Imagine the first time it ever happened was in a grand final and nobody knew what was going
All
on.
I can say is I'm not lining Gorn up for one of those kicks. I'm sorry.
That's so weird that you say that, because whenever I think about him, I always think about inspirational goal from 50 metres out and you guys all running around, French high-fiving.
Um, one thing I did wanted to also just check with you is maybe just pulse check at the moment. It's probably one of the last topics we want to talk about is who's on fire? Like, who really is just lighting it up at the moment for you? A couple of players, could be a coach.
Interesting. Okay, well, from basically the whole Bulldogs midfield.
Yeah.
You take Ed Richards off the half-back line and you go, we don't need you anymore because Bailey.
Yeah.
God, who am I thinking of? God, what's his name? He had 40 possessions last night.
Dale.
Bailey Dale.
Yeah.
Well, we've got him.
Yeah.
And by the way, their back line, I was looking at going, well, Caddy's going to have a big day on O'Donnell. O'Donnell stitched him up. O'Donnell showed what an extra 2 years in the gym just does. I'll tell you one thing I'm starting to get concerned about with Caddy.
Yeah.
Sorry to switch off topics.
Yeah.
A lot of times he's quick and he takes a big lead and he gets his arms out in front and you think this is a mark.
Yeah.
And yet there's something about the positioning of his body where he's just not blocking the guy out behind before he puts the arm up.
Yeah.
And they always just manage to spoil it.
Yeah.
So there's always that, oh, good, here's an easy mark.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it? I've already got it, like him lining up or whatever. It's usually out on the wing, and I think he just relaxes or something. But he's got to make that
he's got to make it.
a lock-up mark.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about how, I think I said last time, when we've got Merritt, Caldwell, who, by the way, he and Langford, very slow coming back from injury.
Okay.
I love them, but Kyle, if you don't do something soon, because that's the big question, like how are Wright and Langford and Perkins going to fit in with the new forward line that it's not going to be about them. It's going to be about them leading, showing those guys what to do, but then stepping back and going, all right, Caddy, Kako, this is your forward line now. So far, not good. Wright comes back amazingly from injury. I wish Langford...
So I think we're digressing.
Yeah, all right.
Talking about who is on fire, because these guys aren't on fire.
What did I just say, Ed?
Yeah, Ed Richards.
Definitely.
Yeah, and the Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs midfield. You got and Levi Ashcroft, impressive rookie, really. And Heaney and Warner are just... They're doing the Gorn. They're just loading up their whole team. It was good to see Hayward go with them. But yeah, I mean, that'd be it for and there's a few over in Adelaide as well.
I think Rankin. He's been on fire, but I reckon the guy who is really lighting up for me at the moment is Bailey Smith. Have you seen his numbers in Geelong? Again, he must have been almost best on ground again. He had 30-odd possessions again. He is everywhere. I've never seen such an impact player for a long time that's come from one team who came, by the way, off a knee injury, right? Like, was out for the whole season, has come into Geelong, and he's lighting it up there.
Okay, so... I guess that takes us into Recruit of the Year because, bloody Geelong, they always, we'll have a Jeremy Cameron and let's get him.
Yeah. He's Recruit.
Your Bailey Smith, I would say, is number one.
Yeah.
2 and 3, I think, are Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Rioli and Noble. Now, Noble played out of his skin the other day.
Yeah.
But I love it when a new coach, premiership coach, moves to a new club and you go, well, who's going to be my Rioli?
Yeah.
Well, how about Rioli?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, they gave up picks 6 and 25. Yeah. When I heard 6, I was like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
And then throw 25 as well, which is like, Richmond just
Yep.
reigning picks
Yeah,
last year.
yeah.
But then you see Rioli play
Yeah.
in Hardwick's backline, and you go,
Hello.
yeah, that's what I remember from
Yeah.
Richmond. And they are. Do you think either of them has been better than Bailey Smith, or is Bailey Smith clearly recruit of the year? And
Look,
are we forgetting about
I'm,
anyone?
but you know, I think Bailey Smith to me is really standing out for me. Even in their close losses, they had a couple of close losses. He was very, very good against them. I think was it Geelong and Collingwood, and he was everywhere again.
Well, he and
Last
Max
night.
Holmes are
Yeah,
amazing in
yeah,
their midfield.
yeah, absolutely. So it'd be interesting. Obviously, Danger sounds like he got an injury last night. It'll be interesting to see if that might change. But
I don't
geez,
know what to make of Geelong.
I don't know what to make about Geelong. It's a
And
really fun to
GWS.
know.
To
And I
me,
can't.
they're
Yeah,
the real, like, could they get
yeah,
hot?
yeah,
Because I think there's three teams that
yeah,
we would agree
yeah,
are where you want to get to.
yeah, yeah,
Collingwood aren't going to get a hell of a lot better. They are what they are, and they've
yeah,
been
yeah.
at or near the top for 5 years. Same with Brisbane, and I would say Bulldogs.
I tell you what, the Suns. I mean, let's be. Yeah, I mean, you talk about Noble, you talk about Rioli, but you've got these. Noah Anderson. You've got Rao.
Anderson.
Rao is hot at the moment too.
If you could take one, would you take Anderson or Ralph? Let's thought Ralph, because that's
Yeah,
spectacular, breaking through.
yeah. He's got a Petrarca feel about him.
Anderson
He's
is
a
a
ball.
footballer's footballer.
Oh yeah,
He's just always in the right
yeah,
place.
yeah,
Just always,
yeah.
his kicks and handballs always set stuff up.
Handballs are unbelievable. What I've noticed about Gold Coast is their ability to not just link up, but really go for that aggressive handball, just setting their players up. It's you looked at their forward line, you thought, oh, there's King and who else? But all of a sudden, it's like, well, actually, yes, there's King, but there's also Ben Long. There's
Yeah.
also Roses. There's also,
It's amazing how
Rao.
the
There's
new coach comes in
oh,
and a guy who's like almost heading out. You go,
yeah,
let's just try it forward.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
he's he's a Clayton's key forward.
yeah,
He's the key forward you have when you don't when he's not really a key forward,
talking
but he's
about
doing
Ben
the
Long?
long.
Yeah, yeah,
He's doing the bustling. I saw
exactly.
them the other night. Bloody hell.
Yeah, they're very good.
Well, the
Very, very,
question
very
is,
good.
no, to me, they're in the next category,
Yeah.
which is is it this year?
Yeah.
Have they arrived? Hawthorn, Adelaide,
Yeah.
and Gold Coast.
Yeah, yeah.
Could it be this year? Because to me, that would be Hawthorn 2008.
Mm.
We were expecting you in a couple of years. We're not quite ready for you to win the flag now. Geelong
Yeah.
and Collingwood are better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're coming fast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not like, Brisbane and Collingwood
Yeah.
and Bulldogs have, you do your 5 prelims in a
Yeah,
row,
yeah, yeah.
you establish your, can any of those three skip that step?
Yeah.
Like,
I
Hawthorn
see-
went
I see-
sensational in the finals last year, but is this the year they go further? To me, there's a lot of questions there.
Yeah, I see Gold Coast and I see Hawthorn really very close together at the moment. They're very exciting when they hit off the back line. They're linking up, fast plays. So
You've got those two ahead of Adelaide?
Yes, I do. Just. But yeah, I think there's certainly a lot there and certainly a lot to unpack. I reckon we just have to wait a couple more rounds. Dave, I think it's time. Any other things you want to talk about?
Oh, you want to talk about list build? Yeah, look, it's part of why we're here, Pete. I'm trying to get you to understand that you need to start looking to the future. And I was interested in your review of the game that you didn't talk about Turner, who 2 weeks ago you were saying he and who was your other key forward you were going to go with?
Fritzy, yeah.
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 He's now centre half back. And it seemed to be working. So,
Yeah.
and you're still holding fat on Van Rooyen. Actually, you wanted to get rid of Fritchie and you wanted Van Rooyen.
Look, Van Rooyen needs to, as I said, he needs more versatility in my opinion. He just feels like he's a bit of a two-trick or one-trick pony at the moment. He leads forward. He just doesn't, if he misses the mark, he's not, I feel he's not agile enough on the ground. Fritz is just missing goals at the moment. One of his greatest strengths was actually kicking straight. And at the moment, he's just missing kicks and that he really should be getting. So for me, I don't want to go back, but Melksham is a real link for us because his ability, his penetrating kicks, his ability, he does kick straight, and we need straight kickers at the moment. So,
All right. So I would say at some point you need to work out if you're, because you guys had a premiership team, right?
yeah,
What, 2 years after Richmond? Similar positions. And it's a really hard thing to do because to do a proper rebuild,
yeah,
you got to get lucky,
yeah,
like I was talking about before, but you've also got to be brave.
true.
And West Coast are showing us what happens when you're not brave,
Agreed.
right? We're going to give Kennedy, Darling,
Yeah,
Shuey,
yeah,
Yo, all those guys,
An extra few more
2,
years.
3 years,
yeah.
good money. They'll be playing in spots where we won't have kids coming through, and then you sack the coach because they're no good anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know what Simpsons right. I don't know whether Simpsons was going, pay these guys. We've got one more in us, or whether he was saying, look, I've got to rebuild, but they kept giving the contracts. I don't know what his involvement was, but somebody, and list management, let's be honest, needs to be brave and say it's going to be hard to watch those guys run around in another jumper. So for you, I think Oliver, you'd be okay with seeing go. Like this time last year, you could have got a first and a second, maybe 2 firsts when he was up and about.
I still hold hope with Oliver.
He's
I
playing
really
as a
do.
tagger now, right?
And he did a good job last week. You know, he
But
tagged.
what am I
and-
giving up for a tagger?
Yeah.
If I want Clayton Oliver at Essendon, because I think he's going to be good for my young midfielders who are coming through, and I'm not worried about, he's got to live at Maxi's house and all that stuff. I'm giving you about pick 40, right?
Yeah.
I'm not giving you. So Cozzy, you're looking at currency, and I know he's 23, and you'd be crazy to give him up.
Oh, we're not going. I don't want to talk about giving up Cozzy. Please.
How about a Melksham? I mean, I don't even think Melksham's getting like a second round
probably
pick.
got a couple more years in Melksham, but yeah, he could.
But look at you. You're not prepared to trade anyone, right?
Let's have that discussion.
All right.
Next
I'm using that as a lead into Richmond.
Yeah. Okay.
Richmond had 7 picks in the first round of the last draft. They traded one of them away, and North Melbourne should be shot for doing so, right? Let's start with Richmond. Richmond had pick 1. I've got it here. Pick 7, pick 12, pick 14, pick 21, pick 23, and pick 27. Not since Gold Coast and GWS came in. Now, how did they get him? They gave away, well, they didn't give away, they traded Rioli. Pick 6, pick 25.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Who's the one who went to West Coast? Baker?
Yeah.
Now, these are good players.
Yeah, good
so you're getting a
players.
first round pick
Yeah.
back. Who was the other one they gave up? I had it here. Rioli, Baker. Oh, Shea Bolton.
Yeah.
Like if you'd have said to Richmond fans 2 years ago, I want you to trade Shea Bolton and you'll get 2 first round picks and then you'll have some years of pain.
Was it a smart move? What
Richmond?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Okay. Their coach is going to survive the rebuild, and very few rebuild coaches do, right?
Yeah.
Like we said before, Simpson didn't.
Yeah.
Usually when you're dealing with the 50-point losses and the 100-point losses and all that sort of stuff that you have to do when half your team have played less than 20 games, right?
Yeah.
So what did they pick up? Number 1, Sam Lawler. I heard another person compare him to Dusty today. He just seemed, and when I watch him, you just think, geez, that kid's going to be
It's
good.
going to be a good player.
Right?
Yeah.
Then pick 7, they got Josh Smiley, who is a 195 centimetre midfielder. Well, that's nice. Then pick 12, Taj Houghton. You go, oh, okay. Well, this guy was a high impact forward, and then he turned into a high disposal midfielder.
Yeah.
That sounds like a bloke I wouldn't mind having in my midfield, right? Then let's hit the tall forwards. They actually pulled a bit of a shock and went Jonty Fall when most people thought that Harry Armstrong was the best. But don't worry, because when their next pick comes around at 23, Harry Armstrong's there, and they go, we'll take Fall and Armstrong, right?
Nice.
Then they get to pick 27, and they're like, what do we do here?
Yeah.
And North Melbourne, who's watched all the key forwards, most of them, go to Richmond, go, we're so desperate for a tall forward, we will trade you our next first-round pick.
Yeah.
Now, nobody said it at the time.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years, North Melbourne have finished second last, second last, last, second last. Now, before that, they did all right. But based on the last 5 years, you know that you've just given up a top 2 pick
Yeah.
for the 4th or 5th best tall forward in the league. Now, at that point, that's where I think the AFL should step in and say, you're actually not allowed to do that, right? Because what did North think they were going to finish this year? What did they think they were giving up? Best case, pick 5 or 6?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Right?
It is crazy.
When you've got that much of your build left. So you've run out of time. We're trying to do it, but you've got to do it before Tassie come in. Because one of the things I said about getting lucky, Hawthorn were under the old rules and they got Jordan Lewis, Buddy and Roughhead in either one draft or 2. Because of that, if you were really bad 2 years in a row, you got 2 picks at the start of the draft. And they milked that, and then the expansion clubs came in, and you couldn't get better because you couldn't get any kids because they were all going to those places, right? That's going to happen again. That's happening in 2 years. And with our academy guys and Darren Buick's son, who apparently is a gun midfielder who we're getting not next year but the year after, I think we're in a position, but everything's got to go right. And one of those things is you guys lose the next 8 games and we get a top 3.
Let's leave that alone, Dave. I think that's a good way to I totally agree with what you're saying. And it's certainly food for thought there. You're right. We don't want to be giving that away to you. I agree. But let's see how it goes. But I think it's a good time to wrap it up. I've absolutely loved it.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Love talking with you and, having these really insightful discussions.
Thanks a lot for watching.
Thanks a lot for watching.
Let's wrap it up.
See you later.